good evening. And yes, we're back. 2026 is back with a famous three. Minus, I'm sorry, Luna can't be here with us, but she has promised to join us in our next and upcoming one. We love and miss you already. Okay, so our first one back official boyos is my hubs. This is Buckets and my bro and best mate Leon. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. And you notice, guys, that Buckets has actually had a new title now.
Yes.
Hubs. There you go.
Husband.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I did a short abbreviation. So congratulations.
There you go, there you go. So
You should be saying hubs with the most amount of tubs now. I mean, the amount of weight.
Yeah, the hubs with the tubs, right?
all right, so we've all got our drinkies. All right, so obviously living in this beautiful country of ours, Australia, what we have been noticing is what's happening around us at home, and that is the fuel crisis. Leon has named it officially the fuel crisis of 2026, which is a proper name. I absolutely love this. I think we have so much to catch up on, so much to talk to, because I want to bring you the next podcast next week. With all right, let's get into number one. With no fuel, diesel, and jet fuel, what will this mean for Anthony Albanese's legacy?
You're gonna start with Phil first, or you're gonna start with me first? Why
No,
are you giggling? Why are you giggling? Buckets.
I'm giggling because I just remember when he spent so much money on trying to basically unify people with a referendum that failed, and you're talking about his legacy. What legacy? That we're even more screwed than ever. And I just think, like, what's he done? Like, all he's done. Look, I think, to be honest, Anthony Albanese, or Albanese as he would say, is the fact that he's done literally almost nothing. I mean, all he's done is told us, listen, just ease up your behavior at the petrol pumps because we're running out of petrol. But like, that doesn't tell us really anything. That he hasn't really done anything, or done anything. He's just told us to do things, but he's put no real effort into it. It'd be basically like you lining up to a hot dog stand, and the owner of the hot dog stand says, "Look, we're running out of sauce. Could you just take half a sauce instead of
Or
one?"
we're running out of hot dogs.
Exactly.
You know,
Yourself to half a wiener, maybe.
oh yeah, exactly. Do you mind taking like half a bread? Like, because you'll help out a lot of people. You help out a lot of people.
Now, the reason why I asked the question, and I think I have an answer in my mind already, that the Prime Minister's legacy, no matter how good it was, no matter how bad it is, his legacy will go on to make a mess for whoever's up and coming next, whoever the new government may be.
Whoever the next government could be.
Exactly, and I think it will look bad for him on his portfolio, on his prime ministership. But he's done. I'm not saying he's not done any good. He's done a lot of good for Australia, but he's also the bad outweighs the good, and I think this ugly mess, whoever will be our next prime minister, whether male or female, um, I think has or will have a lot to clean up and a lot to fix and a lot to sort of money wise and a lot to sort of make sure that we get to, whether we get to school or work or our jobs to and from. And I think his legacy is very bleak and very sort of, I'm sad to say, a big old mess for his prime ministership.
Say something. I know it's not my turn to speak, but I'm still going to speak anyway. You use the word legacy as if it's a good thing, because that's what it's supposed to be. Legacy is a good thing. We even have a charity called Legacy, right? But this isn't a legacy. This is just you know, incompetence. There's no legacy here. It's just incompetence. And we shouldn't actually use the word legacy for Anthony Albanese because it's just problem after problem after problem after problem and failure after failure after failure after failure. And I voted this guy in thinking that he would actually change how it was before Scott Morrison. And to be perfectly honest, I think he's done a worse job than Scott Morrison. I didn't think it was possible to be worse than Scott Morrison, and he proved me wrong. So there is no legacy here. It's just incompetence.
Well, it looks
So
like Australia is currently crawling through one gigantic problem after another. I mean, 2020, we had to try and figure out how to work our way around the COVID lockdowns and stuff like that. That, with to Scott Morrison's defense, that wasn't entirely his fault. I mean, we were dealing with an unknown factor here. Now, this situation here is a little bit different, but the fuel issue at the moment, what's going on over there in Iran at the moment, has put all the world on edge, quite frankly. It's now exposed the world to alternative thinking at the moment. And right now, I believe Anthony Albanese just secured, what was it? 100,000 liters of fuel and stuff like that, which in effect gives us 1.1 days of fuel bonus. I remember seeing something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but we use what 90. I can't remember how much bloody fuel it was, but it was like 90 to 100. So he's traveled 4,500 bloody kilometers in jet fuel or whatever to another country just to secure us 1.1 day of fuel. Even Russia made a mockery of that because even they were laughing at that kind of total, and we're laughing at it too. He's traveled all the way around the world to secure us 1.1 days of fuel, which right now it's not a good look. It's probably going to, if the situation over there in Iran continues to de-escalate. Right now, there's supposedly some sort of what's that word I'm looking for at the moment? There's some sort of deal at the moment between Iran and the US to reopen that Gulf area where the oil is, and that needs to remain open because Hormuz, yeah, that's the one. Thank you very much for that. But that needs to remain open because if it closes, it's going to cause all sorts of problems. It's going to cause all sorts of problems worldwide, and it showed. The fuel, especially the diesel fuel, went up a whole bloody $1.60 at one stage, and that's why we've got the little excise that's come in at the moment. But the excise ain't going to do much good for diesel at the moment, even though it's just dropped under $3 here, but it's still bad.
The problem with Donald Trump is arrogant. And to be perfectly honest, he could just go to his next door neighbor, Canada, and ask for oil because they have plenty of oil supplies. He doesn't need to go to Saudi Arabia or any of those other places. He just needs to go to his next door neighbor and actually treat them well. But he doesn't do that. Instead, he puts tariffs, which is just a code word for tax, on all his neighbors and stuff like that, and anyone who basically wants to defy the United States. So the biggest problem with Donald Trump is that although he acts like this big honcho guy being the president of the United States, he didn't think of the consequences of his action, and he never had. And that's a major problem with Donald Trump. He thought, hey, we have the biggest, baddest army in the world. We've got the biggest defense force in the world. We can bully anyone, but then didn't realize what would happen if he did. And now we've got this problem.
And I don't believe that Canada is going to warm to Donald Trump at the moment. Just you remember hearing about what was it? Donald Trump was trying to make Canada a state of the United States, and Canada didn't want it. And Canada, as soon as Canada brushed it, then the US put a tariff on Canada. So yeah, but that was never going to work. So at the moment, Canada is not going to negotiate that much with America at the moment. I just want to pull back on the fuel situation. Now we don't. Anthony Albanese secured 100 million liters of diesel, but we use 92 million liters of diesel a day. So we have so overall, has traveled halfway around the world to secure us 1.1 day of diesel. So there you go. I was on the right track. I remember hearing that story. I just had to travel up on it.
Here's the thing, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me if I'm being stupid, but have anyone noticed New Zealand is not on the news? New Zealand is a very, very, very quiet country. They don't interfere in anything. They don't get into anything. They've got their own ships and everything. What if, I mean, just hear me out. This is theory, my little elf mind. What if we actually borrowed fuel from our sister country, New Zealand?
Our neighbor.
Yeah, our neighbor, New Zealand, or we could maybe perhaps get a deal with them, brother, sister country, neighbor to neighbor, and say, hey, we've run out of fuel. Can we borrow some of yours? What can we do to, to pay you back? Like, what can we do to help out? Can we give you some money for charity, something like that? Or can we strike a deal somehow that
The thing is, we've always helped New Zealand. We've always helped New Zealand. We've allowed New Zealanders to come into our country without a passport. We've always defended them.
no, but I'm just saying that what if our Prime Minister actually spoke to the Prime Minister there and said, look, can we strike a deal with you guys?
It wouldn't have been unheard of, and why not? I don't see why not. But like the thing is,
We've got to have something to offer New Zealand. And what do we have to offer New Zealand at the moment? Apart
thing
from
is,
the NRL.
look, the thing is, Australia, if we're smart enough, the problem is we've been giving a lot of free fuel to multiple countries. And if it hasn't been free, it's been close to free. So we've got to stop that and be more like Finland, where the fuel actually, if it does get sold to foreign nations, we have a tariff for that. We have a tax for that. And all the money goes back to the Australian people, like it does go back to the Finnish people, the Dutch, the people in Denmark. So why can't we do that? And we're the only country that does this, that has a large deposit of fuel. So because there's been a lot of corruption and this whole net zero thing that's happened, I mean, in theory, it sounds all right. We're trying to save the environment, but it had detrimental effects to our economy and detrimental effects to now our resources. And now we have, I think it's 2 fuel stations are on fire for some reason. I mean, how the hell does that happen?
You'll talk about one that was on fire in Victoria, and I think the other one was somewhere overseas, I believe.
It is crazy that we're in a fuel crisis and this is happening.
He's
Yeah.
yeah, go on, sorry.
No. It was kind of really strange. I consider that it's just bad timing. What happened in Geelong, and also what happened over there in, I can't remember what country it was, but were those 2 refineries on fire. So it was kind of crazy, which meant half of our refineries were on fire. We have 2 working refineries at the moment. One of them was on fire. I think what we need is all our refineries back online.
Well, we used to have 8 online, and then we shut down 6 of them because of the net zero policy. So we effectively screwed ourselves.
Boy, didn't that come back to bite us in the ass, hasn't it?
Yes.
Here's my next question, gentlemen. What are the alternatives? What are the alternatives that we could be using to make us self-reliant and not dependent on foreign nations? And here's my gag joke. But I like to be a bit silly about this and not be so extensive. Why don't we do what Dr. Emmett Brown did? Get the car, get the DeLorean, put whatever he could from the rubbish bin, that fuel. That ran the car super good.
It's funny you should actually mention that, because the guy who actually invented diesel originally used peanuts in
Peanut butter or something, is that right?
he used, yeah, and when people used to smell his engines, they used to say that it smelled a lot like deep fried peanuts. So if the guy, no, this is fact, right? I
No,
know
no,
that sounds,
I'm just, I've heard this story. Go ahead.
so if the guy that invented diesel, right, can run an entire truck off peanuts,
Why can't we?
why can't we? Kind of thing. It kind of sounds funny when I say like peanuts because diesel's going through the roof, but maybe we can do this. And we do have other forms of fuel that don't actually hurt the environment. You just have to have the right carburetor for it, and we can do it. In fact, what does water have in it, for example? I believe it's H2O. Doesn't H2O stand for helium? We can use helium as a source of energy. So if we really wanted to, we could use water as petrol.
Guys, I was trying to make you guys laugh something. You know, I'm just gonna be even silly about this.
Well, I want to have my fuel for peanuts. How about you, Leon?
Yeah, I'd rather have our fuel charged for peanuts anyway. You remember the good old days when it used to be charged like 50 cents or something a liter?
20 cents.
Yeah, something like that. I remember the good old days when I used to live in St. Mary's North and the
Oh, the
BP would have
90s.
that petrol prices that cheap. And I was like, yeah. But only
I mean,
problem is I was too young, so I couldn't drive a car.
I mean, I just wanted to make everyone laugh after thinking how fun and how silly can I be? And I thought, well, I'll just break the ice a little bit by going, well, Dr. Emmett Brown, if he can do it, surely we can do it too. I mean,
Technically, we already have, right? We just haven't gone back in time to basically do everything that
Oh.
Doc Brown did. And the thing is, sending a dog back in time was highly irresponsible. But if he like we have done this. This is actually based off real stuff. So really, if we cut out the oil manufacturers in the world, we could very easily get over this fuel problem that we have. It's just that the fuel companies are panicking right now because they're losing millions per day because their product can't come through, can't come through the seas without being attacked. So, all right, then let's just go through green fuels instead, and that fixes that problem.
I believe with that, sorry about that, Kat, but I believe that current blockade at the moment is actually costing Iran $400 million a day or something like that. How much can you afford to lose because of this blockade before you come to the table? I mean, 400 million in one day, that'd be excuse enough as it was just to get yourself back to the table. I mean, 3 days of blockades is $1.2 billion. I mean, how much are you prepared to lose?
The thing is, I think Iran is kind of sick and tired of using the US dollar as the currency of oil. Okay, because every time they sell something back and forth, they have to effectively buy US dollars in order to sell it, right? So, what they really need to do, what they'd actually probably want to do is to cut off using the US dollar, and that would really choke America if they no longer required their money.
here's what I'm thinking for fuel, right? And forgive me if I sound silly, and please don't try this at home anyway, but my idea is, besides the whole
peanut butter?
not just that, but citrus, right? Lemons,
Citrus.
oranges, limes, juices, right?
Okay.
Couldn't you technically use that to create like a heavy substance that you could put in your engine for fuel that make it last a little while until until we find a source that we can make at home without using other nations, fuels. If you
I
Right,
like I like alternative thinking. I like alternative thinking. I mean, I don't know if that's possible doing it that way, but I do like alternative thinking.
I just
Right.
think, hang on a second.
Sorry.
I just think it's important that, that, what if we just use citrus like apples and oranges and limes and lemons and sort of another way of using that sort of.
Pretty awesome.
Give me 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Give us 1 second. Sorry about that. Yeah, as I was saying, like, forgive me for asking this, and don't try this at home, but couldn't I don't know if this would make any sense with the viewers, but what about using stuff like apples and oranges and limes and lemons and sort of citrusy stuff and mix it with like something like honey or something?
So you're thinking more of like
Organic.
organic fuel alternatives.
Yeah,
But then you may as well make orange juice with that. I mean, like, okay, I'm all
Hot
up for it.
orange juice.
Don't get me wrong, I'm all up for it. I'm all up for my herbal essence to put in a fuel gauge, if you can do it.
Car start
Um,
smoking like it used to be in the 60s.
To be honest, I mean, like if I give a bunch of school children that, it's probably cheaper on labor.
no, but what I'm saying is if you look at the perspective of things, and like Leon said, organic.
Organic transport.
Yeah, like, wouldn't it be better to suffice what we could get from Mother Earth, from our farms and whatnot, and use that to eventually one day drive not just our school buses and taxis and Ubers, but to drive our jet planes, to drive our trains, our buses.
Well, we
type of
do.
thing.
We do have the EV vehicles and stuff like that. That's one alternative. That is one method of alternative that doesn't really require that kind of fuelish kind of deal.
But wouldn't
But
that be smart though?
yeah, absolutely, it would be.
This is the reason why the government's literally encouraging us to use trains,
Yeah.
because of the fact that it doesn't require diesel. Okay, and they're saying, oh, we'll give you cheap transport purely because we want this to be the preferred transport, and it is very good. This is the thing; it is very good transport. It is not horrible transport. Maybe there's some horrible people on it, but that's a different story. But the transport is very good. So look, I'm probably not going to panic as bad because the like I know that I can pretty much use my legs to walk anywhere I want. And it would really only affect me if I basically needed a car to get to work. As it happens, I don't need a car to go to work. I just need a train. And I'm happy with that. Now, I do imagine that there are people that need a car in order to work, or even a license in order to work. And that's a flaw in our system, because they've required someone to have a car in order to go to work. But what do cars do or need? They need petrol. And if they don't have petrol, then they can't work. So it's a kind of a circular problem kind of thing. And I've always believed that that's a real flaw in the system, in our society, that you need a license in order to work at some places, even if you don't even need a car. I think it's just a real flaw in society. So what it's really doing is just feeding the oil companies and giving them constant funds until now. Okay. So, and you know what everyone's going to end up doing anyway is we're all going to work from home anyway.
Well,
Anything that you can actually do at an office, you can literally do at home.
here's where that question comes in now. Is the fuel crisis a blessing in disguise?
I
And
think
every-
it is. That's all right. I think it is because I believe one of the notices was like we have to remove our roofs in order to save fuel. Now, what's next? We have to remove our floorboards so I can Flintstone our way to work.
you know,
Dabba dabba do.
I think it is and it isn't because even though I think in a big way it is because there are still people who use e-scooters and bicycles to get around, and that leaves a less carbon footprint in on Mother Earth. And I think that helps with the climate and everything. But I think as well, people will lean more into when we had COVID, we were told, after COVID, sorry, we were told, no, everybody go back into the office and work. Now we're being told, no, go home, work from home, don't go into the office, learn to suffice, do things for yourself, work from home, because we cannot have you using that petrol for other people to use it and sort of stay at home, lock yourself in, and do your work from home.
I like the e-scooters. I like the e-bikes and e-scooters idea, but the problem is there's too many people running around right now with those things, not wearing helmets, riding around dangerously and getting involved in accidents. So unfortunately, that's the negative stories that we're seeing constantly on the news. And it's not necessarily because of the e-bikes and the e-scooters in general. It's the people who are taking unnecessary risks by not wearing helmets and all that sort of stuff, and they're getting themselves in accidents.
Yeah, but you could make that same sort of argument with people that ride motorcycles as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't wear a helmet, if they don't wear leather, then they
Anything
are.
that happens to them is on them.
But
I'm talking about like normal bicycles as well. Like people are using that now more than well, in Europe. You've got 99% of Europe using bicycles to get around cars and buses.
That'd
But
be great to do.
it'd be nice to actually get on a actual bicycle with a helmet, shoulder pads, knee pads, and just go anywhere, do anything,
Yeah.
and not have to use public transport.
well, the thing is, the government has actually created lots of bicycle lanes.
Yes, they have. You're right.
And actually, if you go to Canberra, you can actually get free e-scooters, and they're everywhere. And
Well,
there are
you mean like the higher e-scooters?
no, they're free. The government have actually paid for free e-scooters. You pay nothing. You just have to use them and then leave them behind while someone else uses them and pedals off.
Ah,
So, so
bugger it. I'm going to take it home with me.
well, this is the thing. That's what they're kind of meant to do, and people do use them. They're meant to be used, because in Canberra they do have quite a lot of tourist destinations, but they also know it requires a lot of walking, and so that's where the e-scooters come in. And in other states, you've got free skateboards as well. So it isn't you know it isn't impossible to think that we can't not do this. It's just that the oil companies have had such a chokehold on most of Western society for such a long time that we can't think of a time without oil. It's just that there are alternatives out there, and we do actually have to use them now. Before it was there's a choice to use them, but now we're getting to the stage of no, we actually do have to use them now because there's no other choice. But I mean, it's cleaner. It'll produce healthier air, and we may even get like a tax deduction from it if we start using over oil, which is going through the roof because there's less of it. So from that perspective, yeah, it's a blessing in disguise.
Now, here's my next question. Is net zero a pipe dream of the Greens and Labour, which effectively destroyed Australia?
Go ahead.
And
You answer first. I need to sneeze. Hang on. That's why I'm putting myself on mute.
I absolutely think net zero was really did destroy Australia. I think that it was a pipe dream, and it was not well thought out. And just because you don't have any oil, or you just because you shut down all these coal mines and stuff like that in Australia, doesn't mean you still don't need that oil. And it just simply means that you buy all that oil offshore, which is exactly what we've been doing. We've been giving away free oil. 80% of our oil we've been giving away to foreign countries, where they've been just selling it back to us when we've needed it. It has been the most slippery slope deal that has not helped the Australians. In fact, I'd say it's probably the dumbest policy that I've ever heard of in my entire life, where we've literally giving people free oil only for them to sell it back to us for 100 times the price. And we've just been buying it because we're idiots. And now
know.
now we're actually paying the price. And I think if we don't do something real quick and we don't change our policies real quick, then you know, we're everything that uses oil, everything from Glad wrap to plastic bags to crude oil, everything that margarine, all of that stuff that we take for granted, we won't be able to use anymore without actually making some deal with a foreign country.
Here's what I think. And I'm a big climate change girl. I believe in, fixing the planet, making her better. I believe in Earth Hour. I believe in conserving our energy for a cleaner Earth for our children, their children, their children, their children. But for me, net zero, as much as I would want it to happen, please don't come at me for this, but I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime. I don't think it's a possibility either. I think what we need to do in Australia is go, well, if we don't have fuel for our truck drivers to bring home or put food on our tables and food on their table, why doesn't the country teach our children and then go home and go, okay, why don't we go to Bunnings and plant our own food? Because this way, if there's nothing on the shelves, right, and there's very little on the shelves, what you're planting is you're eating organic. And I know my parents used to plant a hell of a lot of stuff, like, to eat. That's not like sort of put with pesticide and whatnot. If we learn to just, net zero, I'm sorry, don't come at me, but I don't think it will happen anytime soon or in the future. I think it is a pipe dream, and I think they're not looking at it and investigating it properly. They're just putting numbers here, there, and telling us, we're going to do this, we're going to get down to 2030, 2050. Not happening.
And I'm going to add to that, by the way, I'm going to add to that. Last week, if I understand correctly, the Labor Party actually have done the following. Oh, this was reported on the Sky this week. We learned the Labor Party has quietly removed its commitment to generate 82% of our electricity from the wind, solar, and hydro by 2030. So that was last week. So I'm surprised no one's followed that up yet, because that was actually we learned about that last week, or just a week ago. So they have quietly removed their commitment to generate 82% of our electricity from wind, solar, and hydro by 2030. So that's now out of the question. So net zero is now officially a pipe dream. And I understand that the LNP, should they win the next election, they're going to scrap the 2050 target.
Well, the thing is, right, net zero is kind of a stupid thing if you think about it. Like, if you say we're going to have zero emissions, which is, by the way, impossible to even meet. But if you say we at least aim to get zero emissions, right? And then you have to buy 80% of your fuel from foreign nations, you're not even coming close to the zero emissions rule, purely because you're having to buy extra fuel for the other states just for them to keep alive, right? So it just blows the whole net zero thing out of the water. Like, you can close down your Australian-based companies. It's very easy to do. But if you can't, continuously help the rest of the states and you're forced to buy fuel from other countries, it defeats the purpose of net zero because you're still creating emissions from all the foreign fuel. So it's a dumb policy because it makes no sense. That's my 2 cents on it.
I think maybe to make Leon laugh, I think maybe we should go back to the Flintstone days.
Probably be healthier, I guarantee you
Yeah.
that.
There'll be a lot more healthy people, that's for sure, with people with good legs and stuff like that being able to Fred Flintstone their car. Instead of turning the ignition, just pretend you're turning the ignition. Well, all you have to do is just run with your feet. But the problem is when running uphill is going to be a problem. Running downhill is going to be a problem without any brakes. Your feet are going to look like the callous something fierce. You start slamming on your brakes. All right, everybody, put your feet down on the road. God, where's the DP when we need it?
Anyway, the amount of methane that we've been hearing from the Labor Party right now must be enough to fuel our entire country. So, but no one's willing to use them as an energy source.
Well, here's the final question, boys. Here's the final question. If Donald Trump did not intervene, would this problem eventually happen anyway? And I'm going to shoot first. And my theory is it would happen anyway because, or maybe it wouldn't have happened because he wouldn't have stuck his nose in it. Sorry, Trump, but sorry, not sorry. But I think it would because with Donald Trump, come hell or high water, it's going to happen anyway. But the fact that we didn't or we won't get involved in this whole Strait of Hormuz thing, and he's not happy with us at the moment, would it happen? Absolutely, because he would have found another ally somewhere to help him get that oil, to make money from that oil. There aren't many allies out there, I get it, but he would have found an ally somewhere and said, help me get this fuel or this oil. I know how to make money out of it. And it won't, I don't think it would have brought down the price of fuel in America. I just think it would have been used to pay off debts somewhere, loans, possibly. I don't know. But I'm gonna go with yes and no.
I'm going to go with it would just happen anyway. See, a lot of people just realize that, oil is just this bottomless pit that's we're always going to have oil or whatever. No, not true. There will be a day, one day, when it'll all just be gone and we'll have to find some sort of fuel source that replaces it. So whether Donald Trump was running his mouth and this shit happened, excuse my language, or some other president had to do it in the future, or it was just down to the fact that all the world just ran out of fuel. It was going to happen eventually. So this was just kind of a wake up call to go, okay, this is a reality now. Okay, the fuel that we have does have a use by date, and it will end, and there will be a time where there'll be too many straws and not enough soda to drink from. We have to find something else. So whether Donald Trump was in power or not, this was always going to happen. It was just a matter of when, not if, when.
I don't know about the did not intervene. Wasn't he the one that intervened in the first place by sticking his nose in Iran's business? That's the reason why. It's the reason why this issues come up in the first place. So he's already interfered and he's caused all these problems. He's causing all these problems, and now he's trying to solve all these problems. So I could say, yeah, I solved these problems. No, you caused them.
That might be true, but in saying that, even if Donald Trump wasn't in power, this would be a problem anyway.
I think there would have been a more peaceful solution to this if he didn't open his mouth, if he didn't start any of this. I think there would have been a more peaceful solution towards this. And I think it would have been far more easier to just get the oil and distribute it worldwide instead of just no me. I want.
Yeah, but you're all banking on the idea that this oil is going to last forever, and you're wrong.
Well, I guess I'm not forever, but I'm
It
saying
isn't. So what happens if all the oil runs out and all the entire Middle East go, hey, guess what, guys? There's no more oil, so we can't sell you anything anymore. I'm sorry. Okay. It would just happen anyway. The only difference is that Donald Trump has just progressed it quicker than we
Should
all
have.
expected, right? But it is a huge wake-up call to go, well, what do we do when this actually happens and there's nothing left?
Oh,
You'll go into full Mad Max, road where we'll have road warriors or whatever, but you'll have to find alternative fuels because there will be a day where it will no longer exist,
mm.
and that will happen. And so,
It's-
what does your country do to counteract that? Do we use solar? Do we use electric vehicles? Do we basically use recycle e-fuels or whatever we
I-
use?
that's why each country should be looking at, their own ideas, putting their own ideas forward for their own countries. Like, how are we going to continue on? Like,
this
I
is
like
what
the
I'm.
idea of the solar. Sorry, I like the idea of the solar, but the problem is, like, with the solar, you're banking on it never raining again. You're banking on wind farms, assuming that there's always going to be windy, because if there's days where it ain't windy, then that doesn't come useful. Hydrogen, which is another option there, which is water. So there's a little option. We've got an abundance of water all over the world. So, and ways to redistribute it, or reconstitute it as water.
You know what? I put my head up and made you guys laugh before, but I'm actually quite serious about this now. Using juices like lemons, limes, oranges, apples, anything with honey, anything that's citrusy, anything like if you sort of have.
Well, anything with sugar in it is effectively an energy source. So if you grind down the sugar to the point where it's a liquid, like glucose, like corn syrup, you can effectively have green fuels.
Like most houses pickle their own fruits and veggies. So you could use that as a formula to create fuel.
Well, Clarkson, what he did, right, was he went down to his local Mexican restaurant, and there's a wonderful docu about this because he's actually a farmer himself, and he wanted to see if it was possible to fuel his own car with the scraps from a Mexican a restaurant. And after getting all the bulky stuff out of it, like the the bits that basically couldn't be possibly used as a liquid, he was able to start his own car. So if he can do it, if Jeremy Clarkson can start his own car with nothing but the excess from a Mexican restaurant, then it is possible to use an alternative fuel.
But here's the last thing I'll say about this is that they want people who drive cars to buy things like Teslas and hybrid cars that rely on their own machine, like fuel pump to pump their cars, right, at home. But say you buy one of those and you're fully equipped, you've charged your car like a mobile phone, off you go into the country somewhere, whoopsie daisy, you've run out and you're stuck with no NRMA, no nothing. What are you to do then?
Well, that's an easy problem to solve. So just as you have an extra tire in the car, just in case you basically burst your own tire, which does happen occasionally, just have an extra battery pack in the car. I mean, if you make a law that says you have to have an extra battery pack in your car just in case something goes wrong, okay, and all cars have that, you know, problem solved. Problem solved. This is not a hard problem to fix, okay? It really isn't. You just kind of write a new law to say this is what every single car has to have, just in case something goes wrong. Done deal. So good policy plus helpful fuel, and responsible drivers, they will do stuff like this because no one wants to be left out in the sticks, right? No one does, right? So it's a very small problem to fix.
What do you think?
No, I think I think coming up with alternative methods on driving is great. I think we just need to get serious about it because everyone's going to have their own opinion on it, and whoever's in power is going to stick with their own opinion instead of looking into all the options. So that's always going to be the problem.
Well, here's the thing for the viewers. What do you think? What would you like to? What would be your fuel organic alternatives? Do you like any of ours? What would you come up with? What are your ideas, your thoughts, and your suggestions? And them up in the comments. And next video, we'll give you a shout out and say hi. This has really been so relaxing for me, so calming. I've missed this. I can't wait to come back next week with another podcast with these two. I'm hoping Luna will be back too. We have plenty of podcasts, plenty of games nice to happen. We'll see you back here same time next weekend, hopefully, to talk about what is happening in the polls. Even though we're not near the federal election, there's still a lot to discuss there. That'll be my next topic, and go from there as well.
And if anyone would like to donate us an e-scooter, that would be very well appreciated. And
Or an EV car,
Yeah.
EV
Right.
truck or something.
even a battery. I mean, we would because we probably deserve a battery.
Oh, hang on. No, you need the e-car first before you get an e-battery because the e-car is going to come with an e-battery.
Sure.
Economy, dude. Economy.
Okay, there you go.
Well, thank you so much to my two guys, Hub and Leon. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Please let us know what you thought of tonight's podcast. See you guys next week. Same time, same place. Hopefully Lou will be back with us, and look forward to the next podcast. Until then, please stay safe and warm wherever you are. It is the beginning of winter, and I welcome it.
And don't take as much fuel as you need, okay? Don't take more fuel than you need.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Australia. Wherever you are in the world, stay warm. God bless and keep safe. Bye, guys.